Are we filming? Yes, indeed we are. So welcome to another podcast. I'm going to get straight into it, and then I'll do some admin at the end. Okay. I'm hoping this will be around about an hour, but it might be slightly less today. Might be slightly more, but the aim is to try and get to around about an hour. But there we go. So first comment, and it's shall we say, a controversial one. Okay, so the viewer says, these expensive binders aren't aimed at intelligent people, but rather at hordes who barely capture anything useful in their notes. Many famous scientists and novelists captured their great ideas on napkins when they had to. Well, that's put the fox amongst the chickens, hasn't it? Okay. But when I get a comment like that, I don't delete it out of hand. I mean, I do have to delete some comments which can be really nasty. There's a lot of trolls out there. That is why I personally, I don't have a team behind me. Well, not yet. Well, maybe never. But I do approve. I go through every comment I receive. I don't have necessarily time to reply to every single one now because there's just too many, frankly. But I do read them at the moment. And we're in September 2025. I do read every comment, and the reason I've read every comment is because your comment appears in the comments, and that means that I've actually approved it and clicked OK. 99.99% of you are fine, but the reason I do this, even though it's, shall we say, labour intensive, and I know that many channels don't do this because they don't have the time. I want to do this because I don't want to miss one of your comments inadvertently, and I do miss one or two. But the crucial thing is I don't miss any comments that I don't approve, and I just want to keep things family friendly. You know what I mean? Because otherwise it would potentially get really, really bad. Luckily, this is I'm talking about paper-based productivity, which doesn't generally attract trolls, as it were. But this is an example of like a mild bit of criticism, if you like. Which it has its interesting points. So let's break this down. These expensive binders. Well, they are expensive. But what I always say is, if you buy a binder for say $200. It might last you your entire working life if you buy it as a student. So $200 spread over 40, maybe 50 years. It's not a lot. I can't think of many things in life that will last that long. And so if you break up the cost of an expensive binder, in inverted commas, then you will... I see it as a reasonable price. I mean, this is a kind of a passion for me and a hobby, and I don't really need 200 personal organisers, but it is a thing for me. It is a thing. So I guess I'm a collector, and I'm talking from the position of someone that used to own. I've had to thin down. Now I've retired. I used to own 78 bicycles. I don't need bicycles. I remember when I was a young man, I had a car for every day of the week. I had seven cars. That's the most cars I've ever owned in one go. And I don't need 7 cars. I don't need 78 bikes. And I certainly don't need 200 personal organisers. But it's a thing, isn't it? It's a thing. And if I get pleasure out of that, or I find it useful, then it's not for anybody else to say that that these binders aren't aimed at intelligent people. I would refute that. I would say that expensive binders are aimed at intelligent people, because I would think that if you were unintelligent, and let's not discuss the definition of intelligence, because intelligence has many forms. I would say when people sit round the table and the marketing department, they will have a dry marker board or a flip chart, even a blackboard, or they'll be doing it online using Zoom or Teams, and they will be looking at marketing, optimizing their marketing. And so they will, and I hate categorizing people, but that is how marketing works. And I don't think they're marketing them. They're not sitting around the table and saying, let's market these expensive binders at unintelligent people. They're not doing that. They're not doing that. They might be saying, maybe, let's market these people to these people that already have one, and let's make it desirable for them to build up a collection. Maybe changing the colours, or Filofax is a brand that has actually in the past contracted out the marketing to fashion accessory companies that specialise in that branch. So it's a valid point. One of the things that companies will do is appeal to people that want to change colours, maybe, and designs. But that's business is business. But I'm sure they're not saying, well, these are unintelligent people. It is up to the buyer to make an intelligent. They're using their intelligence to make a purchase decision, and no one is better at arriving at that decision than the actual person that's going to buy. I am not going to tell you, the viewer, what binder you should buy. I can only talk about what I think is works for me, and what I think would be appealing to the wider viewing public. But that is the limit of my influence, if influence is the right word. I don't think it is really. But at the end of the day, it is up to the only person that really knows what they want is the potential buyer, the consumer at the other end, and we can't really analyze that or dispute it or refute it. It is what it is, and it doesn't matter whether you're going into an artisan bakery and buying an expensive loaf of bread, or buying a high-end personal organizer or binder that costs $200 or more. I suspect that consumers that if you said to the global population, hands up those people that have paid more than $200 for a personal organizer, I suspect that the majority of those that put their hands up will be highly intelligent. I personally, and I can only speak for myself, some people have said, why have you spent, recently I paid a total of £208 for a plotter, which, because of my desire to get hold of it, to review it, etc., I paid over the odds to have it bought by a consumer in Tokyo who then added on their margin. Business is business, and then shipped it to me, and then the UK Treasury got their customs fees, and then the shipper got their admin fee in inverted commas. And there's a wry smile, but it is inevitable that you may have to pay through the nose for that sort of thing. Anyway, some people have said that's crazy money for just a piece of leather and some rings. But I'm sure you know, if you are interested enough to follow this podcast series, then you know it. There's more to it than that. There's a lot more. There's not only form and function, but there's also the aesthetics and that purchase decision is fundamentally arrived at by a whole number of different parameters, and how myself as an individual makes their purchasing decision based on feel and joy and excitement, and justifying it to myself that this is a good long-term proposition, etc., etc. So, you know, we always have we have a devil on our shoulder saying, go on, buy it. And then there's the opposite shoulder saying, no, do you really need this? Do you really need this? Personally, I have a method of control, if you like. So when it's when I aspire to own a certain something, when it's clear that I could get away with not having it, I could manage my life without having it. For instance, I could just get away with not having all these binders. And for those of you that are listening to this, I'm looking at some binders behind me on a shelf. I could just have some pieces of paper cut into A6, held together by treasury tags, and that would work just as well as an expensive binder. But it's all about quality of life. And if something gives you joy, I mean, who is the Japanese lady or Chinese lady that talks about getting rid of things if they don't give you joy? Well, I've not really watched any of her videos, but I'm aware of her. I think she's got a TV program as well. Let me know who she is. But you know what I'm saying. If something gives you joy through use or even ownership, looking at it, you know, like if you've bought an antique vase, then who has the right to say no? That's a poor purchase decision. No, it's not. It's if it provides joy and pleasure for the owner, the new owner, why not? Why not? Each their own, as we say in the UK. So I think I disagree with the idea that these expensive binders are marketed to unintelligent people. I think that's wrong. And no, we're not hoarders, because absolutely the ideal number of binders that you can have is n+1, where n is the number of binders you currently have. That's my theory. I'm sticking to it. Barely capture anything in there, but rather hoarders who barely capture anything useful in the notes. Well, I can't really add anything to that. I disagree. But this is interesting. Many famous cyclists, many famous scientists and novelists captured their great ideas on napkins when they had to. Absolutely. And I am a big advocate of, even if you're not carrying a personal organizer with you or notebook with you, as far as I'm able to, I always carry some paper like this, a piece of paper, and I'm just holding up a sheet of paper from a pucker pad notepad, because you never know. You never know when an idea might strike you. And I would say if you are a scientist or a novelist and you get caught short and you're in a restaurant, grab a napkin or a tissue or whatever. Don't write it on your hand though, because as I'm sure we all do, we wash our hands several times a day. Can you imagine jotting down an amazing idea on the palm of your hand and washing your hands a couple of times and inadvertently removing that vital fact on your hands? Or if you're a musician and you think of a melody while you are out and about, and then you wash your hands. I mean, that'd be terrible. So I think this viewer, I don't know whether it's whether they're male or female, says great ideas on napkins when they had to. Yeah, absolutely. You don't specifically need to have a personal organizer or a notebook with you, but it certainly helps. Having said that, these days, I still like to write on paper, even though sometimes I use the memo function on my phone. But it depends where I am. If I'm driving, I say on the motorway, I don't like to have conversations with people, because even if I'm travelling here in the UK, it's illegal to hold a mobile phone in your hand. It must be physically attached to the dashboard in a cradle, and then it's okay. But even then, there is some you can be distracted by it if you are having a two-way conversation with the other person, because they cannot see you. They cannot see that the things around you, or you're coming up to a junction. They don't have the ability to see that, and so they can't pause when you're coming up to a complicated junction. So I don't like using my phone, even if it's attached to the cradle on the dashboard. However, I do use the interaction. I'm not going to say, hey, SIREE here, because my phone will suddenly say, what do you want? So I'm not going to do it. But I do in the car, and I will say, add a reminder or something, and then my voice memo will appear on the reminder for future transfer to paper. So I do that sometimes, but it's mainly a piece of paper. I don't think I've ever written anything on a napkin, but if that's all you have, then that's all you have. Don't lose the idea. That's the crucial thing. So, next comment. And this is a response to podcast 45. And they say, I'm going to mention the Filofax clipboard yet again. Fair enough. So they've obviously mentioned this before. They're cheap, made of a non-leather material, and don't even have a ring opening mechanism. They sound rubbish on paper, but I think they offer the perfect flatability for what you're looking for. I do hope you consider reviewing it. Well, never say never. But it's true. I haven't reviewed one. I actually do have a clipbook. I bought one recently, but I haven't reviewed it. But it's on the cards. It's in my review list. So watch this space. Okay, so where are we going from here? Okay, it's another comment from as a response to podcast 45. And the viewer says, you have to take into account that maybe Filofax was never the market leader in every country, not even when it comes to high quality products. So in some countries, don't know about the quality. So some countries don't know about the quality and flatability of filofaxes, even though they still use binders. Okay. I'm not quite sure. I'm not quite sure exactly what you mean, but get back to me for a clarification if I'm responding to this in a way that doesn't reflect your intent. There are some countries. I mean, here I am in the UK. This is where the Filofax brands started. Back in 1921, I believe, and that itself was like it evolved from the fax and Philadelphia 1910. We all know the history. It's a tricky thing about high quality because I think I'm a big fan of the brand, and I love the fact that Filofax still exists, because I think that let me just have a swig of water here, because I'm struggling a little bit. Because there's let me start again with that. I'm a big fan of the Filofax brand, and I've used Filofaxes for over 30 years now. I think some of them are great, absolutely perfect. Some of them not so much. I admire the fact that the Filofax brand has survived, because I think they did the sensible thing. They were making utilitarian products for certain people, like the clergy or army officers, that sort of thing. And the brand was I forget the gentleman's name, but someone saw that there was potential in the brand, and it became a I wouldn't say a fashion accessory, but it became an iconic must-have accessory for large numbers of people. In the 1980s, there was a real boom, as we know, and then the difficulty with any boom that where the item is a generic item, it means that you quickly get other companies copying that design, jumping into the market. This is inevitable. It's inevitable. And so suddenly Filofax binders became they were seen to be overpriced. So they took the decision to go down market and cheapen the materials, but while at the same time keeping up the marketing, which is how a lot of companies work. And they've been bought and sold a few times, and I think that the only reason they have survived is through clever marketing and trading on their history. So they're still the market leader, even though their binders are kind of sort of middle of the market. middle of the market. They typically go from 20 to £25, like a Filofax Domino, all the way up to perhaps £250, but without using top quality rings or top quality materials. They're still good enough for sufficient numbers of people to stay in profit. Although I have noticed that the FLB group as a whole, their turnover is falling now. Whether that be Blue Line affected by a decline in Blue Line stationery, or Let's Diaries, or Filofaxes, who knows? Because that information I haven't seen. But maybe it's a sign of the times that there'll always going to be people that like personal organisers, but my hunch is they are now looking for alternatives to Filofax that use higher quality materials, higher quality leathers, higher quality rings. That's what I think. It's certainly how I feel. Although I have many Filofaxes, some of which I absolutely love, I'm not a fan of the current model range. Although, having said that, a couple of years ago I bought the brand new, the Filofax Heritage, which I think is an excellent design, but let down by the quality of the rings. They were really, really bad when I got it brand new. So it left something to be desired. And I did buy a Malden brand new, and that was let down by the ring misalignment and also the zip. The zip was really, really sticky, and it's it's just, it is what it is. So are they the market leaders? They're never this gentleman or lady says Filofax was never the market leader in every country, not even when it comes to high quality products. Well, I don't know. I don't know for sure, but I know that commenters, viewers regularly tell me that there's not so much of a range in their country, and I'll give you an example of that. Last week I uploaded a short, and it was the range of Filofaxes in Ryman. Ryman, a long-standing stationery store in the UK, and have been for decades. Arguably, with the exception of W.H. Smith's, Ryman probably the most well-known, and they've always stocked Filofaxes, always, for decades. In fact, Filofax and Ryman had such a good relationship that high quality leather binders were specifically branded Ryman and made by Filofax. That's how long standing the relationship has been. And I was showing the range, and I say range in inverted commas because it was very poor. There was about half a dozen binders and about a dozen different types of insert. And my personal opinion was, let's upload this short to show people that the range is on that particular day. I mean, maybe it had been a low stock day, but there didn't seem to be any other space allocated to binders in the Filofax range. So maybe that was a very small range of binders, and nothing expensive either, just the basic ones. Maybe that was indicative of how things are. And yet someone from Germany messaged me to say, this range is amazing, far more than we get to see in Germany. So that's really interesting. Here am I thinking it's a very, very poor range compared to how it used to be, and this gentleman is saying this is amazing. It's such a great range. It's a shame we don't have this great range in inverted commas in Germany. So yeah, I mean it's an interesting thing. However, I think what is happening, there is definitely something happening, and I have been talking about this recently about the US market, and that is the fact that Filofax themselves don't appear, with the possible exception of the Japanese market, if you recall, to celebrate the 100th anniversary of Filofax. Here in the UK, Filofax didn't offer us anything other than a few stickers. There was no celebratory facsimile, high quality binder of yesteryear like there was on the 75th anniversary 25 years ago, or nearly 30 years ago now, but there was nothing. So the marketing department decided that to celebrate the 100th anniversary of the Filofax brand for consumers in the UK, what they would do is just put a sticker on the cellophane wrapper of binders, so saying celebrating 100 years, but nothing, but nothing that you could quantify, nothing really tangible other than that. Whereas the Japanese market is very, very sophisticated and discerning, far more than here. They seem to have from time to time that the Filofax commission high quality facsimile binders that look identical to those from the leather binders made in the UK up until sort of the early 90s. So they do have that range, and occasionally they appear on eBay. Typically they'd be like sold for $400, that sort of thing. So there's obviously sufficient demand in Japan for Filofax to actually go the extra mile, but we don't get those in the UK. So they're definitely, it's a global brand, but they are definitely making the decision, for example, just offer the sort of mid-range binders to UK consumers, offer high-end binders specially made for Filofax in India. I believe they're made in India. Very high-quality leathers, and for the Japanese market, and for a market such as Germany, as this inference has been made by this German viewer, hardly anything at all. So I think they're very, very much. I think they're very, very slick at assessing demand and deciding what goes where, what products to market to what countries. But I think they are probably they're probably what is part of that. What is part of those marketing decisions is the fact they will be aware of brands offering higher quality products for very similar prices, and I'm talking about Plotter, Me Plus. Me Plus are an emerging competitor, albeit on a small scale. Woozy Studio, and there are others, as we know, all over the world. And there is, and I was talking about this recently. There are manufacturers, particularly in the US, who use high quality leathers and have the skills to make binders that far exceed the construction and materials used in Filofax binders. So it is a tricky thing, but I think the very fact that Filofax has survived for all these years, they've made this transition to offering specific types of binders to specific countries. I think that's. I feel a little bit disenfranchised because here I am living in the UK and I don't get to see these high quality binders. I only get to see the mid-range binders. But I do appreciate from a business perspective that is one of that is a sensible thing, in order to compete with all these other manufacturers of personal organisers. It's very interesting. It's very interesting. So the reader says, also, when quality is not that high anymore, would the current Filofax target market population notice that and value the products less? Oh, well, this is a tricky one, and everybody has their own opinion about that, and I can't and wouldn't wish to influence anybody's idea. I don't want to say too much about that, because if you take something like the Filofax Malden, there's a lot of people that absolutely love that, and they might get one where the rings are perfect or the zip is functioning. I can't buy 10 Maldens and then make an overall make my own deliberations over the quality. I can only go by the one I bought brand new a couple of years ago and found it to be very poor, particularly with the flatability. How people are perceiving this, well, this is my feeling. Obviously price comes into it, and Filofaxes represent good value, especially if you get a bargain in TK Maxx or TJ Maxx in the US. They seem to receive. Recent anecdotal evidence is that you can get a real good bargain if you want a Filofax at more of the bottom end of the market, in certain colours that are maybe not as popular. Filofax seem to be offloading those to keep stock turning round, so you can get a bargain. You can also, and I'm just speaking from the UK experience, you can get a bargain in John Lewis. I bought my Filofax Heritage brand new a couple of years ago for £85. Although sadly the rings were not aligned on that one. I also bought a Filofax Malden brand new in WX Smiths 2 years ago. WX Smiths don't really exist anymore in that form, but they had been going for 200 years, but only now exist in railway stations and airports. But I paid £50 for mine, and the Filofax Malden, the typical price is normally over £100 here. So there are bargains to be had, and so if you couple that with the brand loyalty, the brand awareness, I think they have a very good future. But I think that more people are aware of, if you want higher quality materials and better quality control standards, then if you've had your fingers burnt by buying a Filofax or some other binders where quality control is not, shall we say, not absolutely perfect, and you get it and you open the box and find misaligned rings, or in my case a zip that's really, really sticky, and you think to yourself, I'm paying. This is being marketed as a premium product, and yet I am having to do their quality control, and Filofax are their methodology, if you like, is to have very high quality, very high customer service. So if you have a problem with a binder, no problem, send it back. You get a replacement or your money back, which is absolutely excellent. But I personally think that is wearing a bit thin, because if you have a perfect product, you're not going to be talking about how wonderfully perfect your product is on social media, for instance. But if you have a bad experience, then you will be more likely to talk about that. So that the overall impression of the quality of a product is skewed towards hearing about bad experiences. And I think that maybe that could, at the moment, be hitting Filofax sales. It could be. And the other thing that is probably hitting Filofax sales is, there are many commentators in this field, myself included, but I'm just one of many. Every time I talk about Krauss rings, this binder is amazing, it's got Krauss rings, there's a possibility that someone will think, oh, actually, are those the same ones that Filofax use? And clearly they're not. Clearly there's problem. There are more problems with the rings that Filofax use than Krauss rings, and people remember that. And so maybe for their next purchase, they might go for a rival brand. And then when I talk about high quality leather, Badalassi leather from Italy that ends up being made in Japan or Hong Kong or China, and then those products end up with Krauss rings and the best quality leather you can buy. Then people will, if people hear that enough, it will trump. It will trump the traditional market leaders. What am I trying to say? It may well trigger a transition into purchase away from Filofax. Certainly one of the things that I go a bundle on, and I started this channel because of Flatability, the frustrations I had with Flatability, in as much as I could not understand why the binder, the Filofax Sherwood I had, that I bought back in 1993, why that had perfect flatability from day one, and yet when I buy something now, brand new as a Malden, why is it that doesn't have good flatability at all? What has happened over those 30 years? And the thing that's happened is the construction methods have been simplified to make to slightly reduce the manufacturing cost, to the detriment of the end user who might have to put up with that poor flatability maybe for years, and that user may not even be aware that you can buy a binder or a personal organizer with good flatability. So I think, as a gentleman said, would the current Filofax target market population notice that and value the products less? Well, I think Not everybody's bothered too much about flatability, but I would say the majority are. Not everybody's bothered about the use of high quality leathers, because there's a lot of people that don't like leather, which is absolutely fine. And not everybody's bothered about high quality rings. If the rings work, then that's fine. And that's partly due to the fact that some people will change. You know, they will buy a binder quite regularly, so they're not going to be hit too hard by the fact that the materials aren't long lived. So if you get any binder that is made largely of plastic or layers of cardboard with a thin layer of leather over the top, if that doesn't have much use and you're changing it every 3 or 4 years, then it's not going to make any difference really, so long as you're not too bothered about flatability. But I think the key things are awareness. There's a huge brand awareness for Filofax themselves, but there is a growing brand awareness of other countries, and as we see, there are ways to make the purchase decision when you're buying something from somewhere halfway around the world. At the moment, there is some reluctance because of the worry and fear of VAT and duty and administration fees and etc. But there are companies out there like Me Plus, and I use them as an example. They're very, very good. So they will, all the fees are taken care of. So the price you see on the website is the price you pay. There's nothing extra, and it just arrives at your door, and you get fantastic tracking, so you can see it moving across the world. So you get door-to-door tracking. So that kind of it removes the fear to a great extent. It removes the fear of buying online. Especially when it's hard for a company to start, I'm sure, to get their foot in the door of people's confidence. But when you see, and you can see, and I'm just using the Me Plus example again. When you see comments, when I do a review of a Me Plus product, you can see time after time after time, people have said, I bought this item on the strength of your review and I absolutely love it. And that is a consistent thing. I haven't come across any comment that says, I bought this on the strength of your review and I'm disappointed in the product. Every single person who has commented about it says they're very, very happy. And so what are other people going to do? They're going to be watching reviews from myself and other YouTubers. They're going to be looking at the comments and thinking, do you know what? I love the idea of a binder that has good flatability. I love the idea of Krauss rings. They seem to be people are talking about them very favourably. I love the idea of having top quality leather. It will give me a feel good factor. I'm going to do it. And if you want a binder that is a binder where everything is all in one binder, so we're talking about pockets and zips and everything else, then there are other companies out there that cater for that, and with Krauss rings, for instance. So I'm talking about Vanderspec. And there are others, but I can only talk about I can talk about Me Plus because I have several of their products, several binders in several sizes. I think I've got 4 at the moment. And I've got another review soon. So watch out for that. But also, well, I'll leave it there. I think, in answer to the viewer's question, I think people are becoming more discerning. And I think, I'm not saying Filofax needs to watch out, but something I've always thought would work well for Filofax, because they're clearly doing okay for mid-market, for the mid-market customer base, and that's great. That's absolutely great from typically between £20 and £130, £140. Although I notice that they are really ramping up the prices in the US. So something like a Norfolk, you're having to pay over I need to pause for breath here, to over $200 for a Norfolk, and that's on the Filofax website. So we're getting into a territory where you have to think very carefully about whether or not you want to spend that sort of money on a Filofax, which probably doesn't have the same longevity as a personal organizer that is made of top quality leather and top quality rings. You know, it's the perception of value is probably changing. But I just want to finish this particular thing about what I think Filofax should do. Toyota have a division known as Lexus, where Lexus Toyota made the finest high-end luxury cars that were more refined and more. The aim was to make the most refined car. And I think it was the LS400. I mean, we're talking about 30 years ago now. But it wasn't called a Toyota. It was called a Lexus, because I think it's a smart move to have an upmarket division, but call it a different name. Now, I don't know who owns the Filofax brand name. Do the FLB group own the Filofax brand? Who knows? But if they don't, if it was me and they had access to the Filofax name, I would resurrect it and make some high-end binders under the Filofax label rather than the Filofax label. Because Filofax now has become synonymous with budget to medium range binders, and that works absolutely fine. But they no longer make top end. They're not catering for the top end market. For whatever reason, they're not doing it, and I think they should. They're well placed in the market to do that because of all the playing on the heritage would work much better if they made high quality binders. It kind of rings hollow a little bit if they're talking about the heritage, and yet the binders they're using, upon which they're placing that marketing hype, if you like, have no resemblance to the quality of binders back in the day, especially from a point of view of flatability. So could they do this? Well, they could. They absolutely can. I mean, they are currently making, from time to time, they're getting high quality binders made in India for the Japanese market. So they can. There's nothing to stop them offering those high quality binders to any other market, but they choose, for whatever reason, they choose not to. We don't get those high quality binders. Difficult. But I'm not on the board of FLB Group, so nothing I can do about it. But if they did make top end binders, I would definitely be one of the first in the queue to buy one. Absolutely. But I'd expect high quality leather, flatability, and probably Krauss rings. If they did that, then I would buy them. How much would I pay? Well, I wouldn't want to pay any more than something like a Vanderspec. And that is a difficult thing because Filofax are charging almost as much as a Vanderspec for something like a Norfolk. So, they're charging for a mini Finsbury that's sort of budget materials. They're charging and getting away with. They're finding a market at that given price. They're charging the same as the Japanese consumers are paying for a Plotter Mini 5, which has the very best materials and the very best rings. So they're in a difficult position, aren't they? Because they're managing to, their pricing structure is the price of these mid-range binders. They're managing to find buyers at a price that means that if they were to offer something better, they would have to charge more to keep the differential. But then those higher priced organisers would be a lot more than Plotter or Me Plus or Wheezy Studio or Vanderspec. So it's a bit of a conundrum. I think the way to go is to offer to produce a range of high spec binders for typically the price of something like a Malden or a Norfolk, and then continue with the Norfolk and the Malden and others, but price them at maybe half what they are now. And I'm sure that these binders only cost a few dollars to make. So there is definitely an opportunity there to make lots of profit at half the price. But it's a conundrum. It's a conundrum that only in the future, only Filofax will be able to resolve, if they want to resolve it. Anyway, we're just coming up to the hour, and I had lots more, lots more to talk about. But this has become a kind of a I've spoken about Filofax quite a lot this podcast, but then again that's normal, I suppose, because they are the leading brands, and so that's it is what it is. It is, but I hope you've enjoyed it. Do I have any admin? Well, not a lot, but as you will have noticed, I've been making more. I've been making some more shorts. These short vertical videos for YouTube that are less than 3 minutes each, and also I've been making more videos in general. And those of you that are channel members have seen a lot more videos. And channel members, they get early access to these videos, but they also enjoy exclusive videos that I make just for them. So there's been a lot going on over the last couple of weeks. I've kind of ramped things up a bit. That's not something that is achievable every week, because I've got to go into hospital for an operation at some point, and there's regular checks and scans and goodness knows what. So, but I feel good. I feel good at the moment. I really appreciate the fact that you've stuck with me, because there have been times when I've made hardly any videos at all, and sometimes I think there was one time when I made about 6 or 7 videos in a single week, which is, ridiculous, I know, but there we go. But my intention is to carry on making videos like this for the foreseeable. I really enjoy it. It's good for me. Keeps me busy in my retirement, and there was something else I was going to say. What I'm trying to do is have something for you at the weekends, so Saturday and Sunday. But I make these videos at the moment throughout the week, so channel members get to see them before the rest of you, and I'm not sure how many I've made, but there is I've hit a bit of a milestone. I've been doing this for 4 years now, and I have just gone past 500 videos. So there are 500 videos, and when I look at the early ones, I cringe. But then again, I will probably cringe at these ones as well. I try not to look at my own videos. I'd rather make them than sit and watch them. But I just want to thank you for sticking with me over these 500 videos over these last 4 years. I really appreciate your kind comments about my health, which has kind of really helped me. Some of you I have actually become friends in real life, so that's a really great thing. For the future, I don't know how long I can keep this up, but at the moment, my doctor or physician says that everything's okay, but I'm being monitored all the time. So that is good. That is good. And I'm very, very grateful to our wonderful NHS here in the UK, which is free at the point of need, which I think is how it should be. And I know that's not always the case in other countries. So my heart goes out to you if you're in that situation, and I hope that you can find a way. But we're under pressure here. With the health service here, so it's not perfect. It's better in France or Sweden, for instance, or Denmark. Here things it's difficult, but I would say 90% of it is good. But thank you so much for all your comments and your views, and thank you, and a big thank you goes out to all you channel members out there. I have been it's a bit overwhelming to have so many channel members. I absolutely love that. I start off with one, and now it's a whole bunch of you. So thank you very much. It's really gratifying, and that's one of the reasons why I'm trying to step up a gear to provide good value, and I hope I am. But I'll leave it there. I don't know when this is going out. I mean, channel members will see this today. I'm recording this on a Sunday in September, and I think probably the rest of you will see this in a week's time. But anyway, thanks very much for watching. and keep the comments coming in. I can't guarantee to reply to everybody, but there's just one thing that I want to reiterate, and that is, if your comment is interesting to me, then your comment may well be featured in a future podcast. So thanks very much for watching. Until next time, goodbye.